Do we understand that before and without Jesus, we could not come close to God? Not the way that God desired and not the way that God designed us to come close to Him, to live in relationship with Him. He could come close to man, He could visit, He could even dwell in their midst, but we could not come close to actually dwell with God. There was a tent of meeting. There was a curtain that contained not only the Holy Spirit, but the mercy seat. So now we come boldly before the throne of grace, where that very throne used to be hidden behind a curtain. There's this difference that I don't even think we understand. There was blood required multiple times a day, and then there was an annual day of atonement. There was always a separation. In fact, here's how real the separation was. John chapter 1 verse 18 says, "No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is Himself God and is at the Father's side, has made Him known." Guys, this means that Abraham, who was God's friend, didn't see God. It means that Jacob, who wrestled with God, never saw Him. That Moses, who spoke face to face with God the way a man does a friend, did not see God the way that God desired to be seen. It means that David, who was a man after God's own heart, never saw God. That Elijah and Elisha, Isaiah and Jeremiah, Daniel and Ezekiel, that none of the prophets who heard from God, who spoke for God, ever saw God. And yet what we don't often understand is we would love to have their lives, and yet we've been given a better life than any of them was ever given. We've been given something better, if not something more, and yet many of us would trade the better for the more, right? We would trade the cloud we could see for the Spirit who actually lives in us. We would trade some of these things that have passed away for the thing that never passes away. This means that no one could draw near to God the way that God desired and intended until Jesus came and became our priest and our sacrifice, until He paid for our sin and gave us His righteousness, until He defeated the grave and destroyed the devil, until He sat down at the Father's right hand and sent His Spirit to live in us. We have been given a better hope.